deserve to have the best physical, mental, deserve to have the best physical, mental, spiritual, Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis, your host. A lot of good stuff. In the past podcasts, I've talked a lot about different things that I've experienced throughout my life and just different things in general that we all can learn on. I was lucky enough to play at the highest level of football in the world, not by chance, not by luck. I was not afraid of failure, and that's really where I'm going with this the subject on this tonight's podcast is the fear of failure and what that how that can help or hurt you. Because a lot of people are afraid of doing things, knowing that maybe they might fail. But guess what? Here's the reality: we all fail. We are human. We are going to fail. If you're afraid of failure, you're going to be one of those that kind of is afraid of any sort of different things in your life, experiences, and if you have that mindset of not, being afraid of failing, if you are afraid of failing, you're not going to have that positive outlook on things, and you'll never really, maybe not even discover a passion that you might have if you're afraid of failure. So, a lot of things that we're going to discuss today. And a lot of it is just my personal experiences. I always relate football to my life. It was a big part of my life. It molded me into the man I am today as far as discipline and accountability and teamwork and just you fill in the blank. It had a lot of aspects to it. And I'm very fortunate to have done that. And just sports in general. I really encourage a lot of parents out there, every parent out there that has kids to, at least, experiment with sports. Maybe your kids don't like it or whatever, but at least give it a shot, because it does teach a lot of stuff. And failure is one of them, and how to deal with failure. That's another huge aspect. But before we get into too many more details about this fear of failure, I want to share a little word from our sponsor real quick, and we will be right back.
At 3, we want to give you the true health benefits that you're paying for, something you can feel and see a difference quickly. Each product is packed with powerful plant-based nutrients that are combined through a proprietary curation process and then infused with innovative cellular absorption technologies to ensure the nutrients absorb into the cells for maximum wellness. The quality and effectiveness of our life-changing products is evident by their approval to be included in the well-known Prescriber's Digital Reference, or PDR. PDR has been a valuable resource to the medical doctors and providers in the healthcare community for decades. Our products are GMO-free, clinically studied, and third-party tested, all designed to support health and proactive wellness for everyone.
So zealous wellness. You think of the word zealous. I had to kind of make sure I knew exactly what that word was before I even named the podcast Zealous Wellness. It's proactive, it's enthusiastic, it's just things to look forward to. You have a gratitude, you have an excitement about something, and so I have an excitement about wellness. So I'm enthusiastic about wellness. But I'm also enthusiastic about a lot of other stuff as well. And so, with regards to, again, going back to the subject of this podcast about the fear of failure, you would never know what a lot of these things in your life would lead to if you're too afraid of failing. And so, going into the football sense again, looking back at my life as a little kid and a little shrimp, everyone, called me nicknames of, these short nicknames. I won't name them because I don't want them coming back. But, it wasn't like I was picked on as a kid, but I was always a little short kid. But I was, friends with everyone and just wanted to fit in and do things with my friends and have fun. And, I was a little different in the sense that I was shorter than a lot of people, but I didn't let that control me. I wasn't fearful of me being shorter. And even, fast forwarding to the time I got in the NFL and Tom Coughlin was a little hesitant. Well, not just Tom Coughlin. I had college coaches and recruiters all over the nation. Well, in certain areas of the nation, because I didn't have a lot of exposure coming out of high school because, again, I wasn't, incredibly good, but I was also very short. And so when it came time to go to college and even get in the NFL, one of the biggest things that was taking me away from an opportunity was the fact that impression about me being short. These coaches wanted bigger kickers and bigger athletes. And I had to prove to Tom Coughlin, clearly that I was not afraid. I'm not afraid to get in there if I have to make a tackle, whatever. I've tackled Herschel Walker. Desmond Howard, Tamarick Vanover, and maybe those are names you may not know. I know, hopefully, Herschel Walker you'll be familiar with. That dude was a beast, right? Well, yeah, he drugged me about 5 yards, but eventually gave up and fell down. But I tackled him. I got that under my belt, but I wasn't afraid. But that's going into the whole point about me, and convincing Tom Coughlin that I was not just a short football player that couldn't, in a situation needed to make a tackle. I got in there and I made tackles. And so, and I'm not fearful of that. Yes, it's a little stressful at times. You don't have a lot of time really to think when you're on the football field, when those guys are coming at you 100 miles an hour. You just kind of more or less react. And I didn't want to be one of those kickers that kind of whiffs, or makes like this a very, very lame attempt at a tackle in fear of getting hurt. I've seen some of the bigger kickers out there who have done that. And I didn't want that reputation. So I had some things to prove, that I was not afraid. But, in all reality, had I not taken a chance and been okay with failure, I would have never made it in the NFL. I would have never, there's a lot of things I probably could have never done, or I really wouldn't even know what my dream and my passions would be if I was afraid of failure. And that's a hard subject for a lot of people because, they're afraid of failing because of an embarrassment. Men in general, we have a lot of pride. We think we can take care of anything, and kind of society kind of points that direction, kind of leads us on to think, that we're the man. We need to take care of everything, and we have to do these things. Yes, I understand that there's a lot of responsibilities that men have. Women have responsibilities clearly too, but being afraid of things in life is going to keep you away from experience. You think of going into situations where you're not really sure of the outcome. And that's another thing I want to point to with regards to the concept of fear of failure is if you have no desire to try something, you'll never really know what you could have done. And so there's a lot of times, and I don't know the complete statistic of this actual point I'm trying to make is as far as I think it was, remember, like 83 or 85% of the things that we always worry about never come to fruition. Okay. They never happen. So we spend the majority, 85% is the majority of our time each day, really. If we're spending 85% of our energy worrying about something before that something would happen, 85% chance that it's not going to happen. So again, if you're fighting this fear of failure in the sense of trying to worry about things before you even know what the outcome's going to be, How do you think you're going to succeed in life with that attitude? You have to be fearless. You have to put yourself in an uncomfortable situations. I said uncomfortable situation, a lot of uncomfortable situations. You have to step outside the box at times. Public speaking. I had to kind of learn as I went. They threw me in front of a camera at the age of 21 years old. Or maybe even before then, even in college. You made a game-winning field goal at a 2-year junior college, and next thing you know, you got the local news reporter right there with a camera, or the University of Idaho. That's a bigger step. Obviously, it's a university, and yeah, I did a lot of interviews. I was somewhat successful, and they want to know what I think. And so I kind of was thrown in the fire. And then you get into the NFL, and these reporters sometimes will ask you some questions that they're fishing, for an answer. But, we were always taught to kind of just, accept the question, touch upon it if you want to. If not, then you talk about what you want to talk about, because these reporters are there to listen to you. So again, the fear of talking in front of people, the fear of, yes, playing in a football game. Yeah, I know there's 80,000 people in the stadium, but I was oblivious to them. Yeah, I know there's cameras everywhere, and there's networks, and there's people, and of course the TV people are showing these games all over the nation, or just regionally, or whatever. And if you got NFL network program, you can actually watch every single NFL game if you wanted to. And so I know that there was a lot of eyes on me. Playing in the AFC Championship games, the two that I did, playoff games in general. That there's a lot of people around the world watching you. I didn't care. I didn't know that. Back in my mind I knew that, but who cares? I can't worry about that. I got to focus on what I need to do. And so again, the fear of failure, the fear of anything in life, talking in front of people, or kicking a field goal, or doing things that people are watching, and they're going to maybe have an opinion about the result of whatever it is you're doing. If you have that fear and you never do those things, you'll never know how good you could actually be. So again, here I am going into football thinking about me being a short guy. Well, clearly, the odds were against me, but I was, I was confident in myself. And so that's where, the fear of failure subsides at some point in whatever skill it is you're doing, whatever. If you're talking in front of people, I've actually, I mentioned talking in front of cameras. Yes, I know that I'm going to be on the news that night. Whatever. I might be live. I don't care. Whatever. Yes, I know that. I know people are watching, but it's something that I can't control. I'm just going to do the best I can. And I got better at talking in front of cameras and people in general. Then you take that a step further. Then the local high school wants you to come down and talk to their football team and get them excited about a football game they're having on Friday night. Well, now you're in front of some people. Now they're looking at you. And you got these eyes on you, and it's live. Clearly, there's no editing at that point, right? So you've stepped in. Okay, you've taken that leap. What are you going to do now? You're going to turn away and in fear and walk away and get that's when you're going to get the laughs. If you're afraid of actually talking, maybe you mess up, you say something funny, or you maybe even curse. I don't know. You have to rebound and say, oh, well, sorry. You have to kind of correct that anyways. But my point is really when you get in front of people, and now you're having to have some sort of professional advice, because you're the kicker, you're the one that played in the NFL. You can get us all excited. I've never been kind of a big motivator. Kicking position is very the opposite of motivating as far as game day. I'm calm. I'm relaxed. I don't need to be all motivated and all hyper and upbeat. That was just my personality. And so it clearly makes a lot of sense when you think about it, with regards to kind of just how you're going to deal with certain situations and what your mentality is. When you get into a position when you're actually, expanding, I went into, talk to a team. Okay, great. That's, 40, 50 guys, whatever. Well, now, next thing you know, now you're getting, an organization, to a corporate organization, a corporate business saying, hey, I like what you said. My son's still, football team. I want you to talk in front of, 1,000 people of my company's employees. Okay. All right. I'm telling you, I was still nervous for those. And here's the thing too, about fear of failure, of course. If you're not prepared, you're going to be all over the place. If you don't have the experience, it's going to be difficult. If you're not prepared, you're walking into the unknown, and that's going to make you very fearful. I'm pretty good at impromptu. I can kind of just go on a fly. I've kind of just taught myself to do that. But other people can't. And I'm not saying I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm just saying that I have the ability to kind of, talk in a sense where I'm not afraid. I'm just going to express my true feelings. That's another thing about me. If you haven't figured out by now, I say what's on my mind. I'm going to tell you, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I am very transparent when it comes to just everything in general everyday life. Okay. So getting back to the fear of failure, you'll never progress if you keep this mindset of worrying. First off, remember 85% of the stuff we worry about doesn't typically happen. So you waste a lot of energy in thinking. And again, there's this thing, when you think about manifesting, okay? Yeah, I don't know how truthful it is. Yes, I understand that, you manifest something, you think about it, and you want those things to happen. If you're thinking negatively, if you say you can't, you're probably right. Okay. If you think you can, you might be right, but it's worth a shot, clearly, right? But the other end of the spectrum, obviously, is if you say you can't, then you're probably right. You already have that ingrained not mindset and ability, thinking that you're not going to succeed at this, whatever it is, because you've already told yourself you can't. So either you're not going to do it in the first place, or you're going to fail miserably doing it. And you think, see, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Well, bro, you told yourself you couldn't before you even stepped foot in that arena when you're going to go talk to thousands of people. Okay. So I knew, I'm in this company called 3 International, and I got to a position where I was gone on stage talking in front of a couple thousand people. That's probably the most I've ever spoken in front of, but I was on a panel, so it wasn't just me. But again, baby steps. That's fine. I don't care. Was I nervous? Yeah, it's the first time I've spoken in front of that many people, but I was prepared. I knew exactly what I was going to talk about. And that's the thing too, is you have to kind of have confidence, okay? Because again, fear of failure. You have to understand we are going to fail, but guess what? Those failures are good, because and you can correct them. If you've never failed in life, you're perfect, by the way, which there's nobody on the planet Earth that is, okay? So that there's going to be failure. But my point really is, if you don't experience failure, how are you going to know how to improve? Okay, they say it takes 10,000 hours to be a professional at something. How many times in those 10,000 hours, whatever skill it was you were doing, how many times did you fail? You probably failed miserably a lot of times, but you've also succeeded a lot of times too. And the more times you learn from those failures, correct those failures, and recognize situations that might repeat that failure and say, oh, I caught it, I'm going to do it this way instead, and you succeed. The more times you have those patterns, the more confident you become in yourself and the process. I've always talked about the process of kicking. When you get in that mindset of being a mechanical kicker, there's certain things and certain processes that you have to do. And especially being a mechanical kicker, you have to trust and rely on those processes to be successful. The minute you second guess yourself, which I've been told I've done before, which I agree with, I got nervous. I thought I had to kick this even stronger, harder. I had to be better on this particular game day because coaches told me I had. No. You don't treat any game differently. Don't treat any kick differently. You just trust your process. The point I'm trying to make is the more successful processes that you do these processes and you see the success from those processes and from everything you've learned along the way, the more you can rely on those processes to do the work for you. You don't have to do any more work. And that's, again, I've told you guys this in previous podcasts, that the kickers that are good, the things that separate great kickers from not so great kickers, even if they're equal on a practice field, both guys are kicking outstanding, like 65-yard field goals nonstop, dead down the middle. You put a great kicker with a great mentality of trusting his mechanics and his form and everything that he's done up until that point, that kicker is going to make kicks. The ones that want to add more to it, I got to hit this even more true. I got to really make sure this is a solid kick. I have to make this kick, otherwise we lose this game. If you put that kind of fear in your mind already, I have to. No, I will. And instead of saying I have to, I will. I'll make this kick and I'm going to win the game. But those kind of kickers are the ones that fail more so than the great kickers, because they try something different. Okay. So again, going back to that fear of failure, you create your own processes during the time you failed, and you learn from those failures. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different mindset, a different mentality, a different way of life, a different, everyone's a little bit different. Okay. You think about the professional golfers in the world. You think about how many times have they failed. Clearly, there's a lot. You see it every weekend. You see these guys that perform really well on the PGA Tour and Live Tour and all that, and they miss a really short putt. You're like, how in the world could that guy miss that putt? Well, I don't know. It was all up in his mind or whatever. But going back to this golf thing, I want to really make a point here that you can take the number one ranked golfer in the world and the number 200th ranked golfer in the world, and that number 200 ranked golfer in the world can beat the number one ranked golfer in the world on any given day, because they're physically, they're pretty good. I mean, these guys have gotten really good. Golf's been around a long time. They actually know the best ways of swinging a club. They know what works. They know what doesn't work. Okay, so with regards to just the mentality of golfers at the highest level of golf in the world, both of those leagues I just mentioned, really it comes down to what's upstairs, what's in that mindset, what's gonna make or break that golfer. Because physically, golfers are good. They've done it for a long time, and they've more or less mastered their swing. But when their swing isn't mastered is when that brain gets in the way of it. Your insecurities get in the way of it, because where do insecurities come from? Failure, the fear of failure. Okay. So if you're insecure about anything in life, you're going to be afraid of something. Okay. And so you can't live your life in fear all the time, because you'll never progress. There's no point in progressing in life in anything if you're always constantly afraid. So my point to you and my advice to you, I lived it. I was okay with failure. I still am to this day. I put myself out in front of people all the time. I talk about the company 3. I talk about the proactive wellness products we have, not knowing what this person is going to think about me, but who cares? If I didn't, how would I know that that person isn't going to be joining my team in my business and taking off? I wouldn't know that unless I actually shared some information. And to do that, it takes some boldness, because again, if you're afraid of what that person might think about you because of the way the product's sold, that to me blows my mind. I've gotten a lot of people, which, okay, that's fine. That's your prerogative. I've gotten a lot of people who will ghost me. And it all turns out to, in the end, I've heard them say, well, I just am not into that kind of business model. The products are great. Why does it matter how it's sold? It doesn't. I would rather trust me sharing this information to you from personal experience than someone they paid on the TV to do that. Are you going to trust Brad Pitt to talk about I don't know, toothpaste? I don't know, whatever Brad Pitt talks about, or any of these paid actors? Do they actually use the products they're promoting? Probably not, right? So my point is that, you have to put yourself out there. You have to understand there will be failure, and you have to know that you're going to be okay with it. Yes. Am I sensitive? Yes. I've been butthurt at times. My friends, any friends that are watching this right now, yeah, Mike's pretty sensitive. He'll get butthurt at times. I just, my mentality is I have a strong, mentality where, when I'm pretty confident about something and I share some information to you that I think that you would be just as confident as me. And if you're not, and maybe you're a little disrespectful in telling me that you're not as confident in me, I get a little butthurt. But again, I understand it's part of the business, part of the nature. It's the nature of all that. Okay. It's the nature of life. Okay. We're not all going to be perfect for everyone. And everything's not always going to work out. Every single day you have decisions to make, and that there's a possibility that the decision you make may not turn out in your favor. And that's another thing too, that you think about, looking too far ahead. That's the other thing too. If you think about fear of failure, like, oh, I'm not afraid of doing this, and you look too far ahead of certain things, you cannot get too excited about something until those things happen in progression. Okay. Because if you look, again, going into goals, I have, and you guys might think I'm just nuts, right? People say, oh, you got to set goals, and you got to have a vision in the future. I understand that. Okay. But I want to be realistic about it. Okay. If I told myself every year before a season started, I'm going to be 100% on my field goals throughout the entire season, I think that would be a huge mistake, because it's not realistic in a sense. Yes, it's possible, but not very many guys have ever done it. Okay. You think of Gary Anderson, the year that he went 100% all the way through the season, all the way through the last kick of the season, essentially, he missed. It was an NFC Championship game. He had not missed a field goal at all the entire season. The only one he missed was the only one that mattered. Gary Anderson has got, he's got a mental strength about him. He is definitely, he should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm sure maybe he will be one day, but that guy was pretty sharp mentally, right? Well, when you got it, he must have had one of those fears. Fear got the best of him that day that he missed that kick. And so when you look at those kind of examples, you have to understand that you don't want to set a goal that's unrealistic. If I set goals, which yes, I do, but they're more progressive goals. They're more like I want to achieve these little things. If I focus on these little things day in and day out, guess what? In the long run, that goal that I kind of said in the back of my mind, even though I didn't keep myself to it, being 100% every year or that year, yeah, of course I wanted to be 100%, but I didn't think about that every single day because again, that's gonna cause a lot of stress. It's gonna put a lot of pressure on me because especially the last game of the season or last kick of the season. Well, I can reach my goal if I guys when they have incentives in their contract. And that's that one play that they have to make a tackle on, or it's the one receiver that has to make that final catch, or that quarterback kicker that's got to make that last kick to get that $50,000 incentive. Okay, well, if you have a fear of missing that because you're going to miss out on that $50,000 incentive, then you've already missed. Okay, you can't convince yourself to do that. You can't convince yourself to think about the consequences. Okay, you think about the process. You think about what it is you do to achieve whatever skill or goal, whatever it is that you're looking to do. If you think too far ahead, consequence is yes. It's the consequence means like what happens. It's good or bad. When I say consequence, I don't mean bad. Consequence, people think it's a bad word. It's really not. It's just what happens as a result of something else. The consequence of you kicking a football is either you're going to make it or you're going to miss. Okay, well, if I focus on the negative consequence of missing a kick, if I think I can't make a kick, I'm right. I'm probably not going to make the kick. If it's a long one, I'm like, well, that's, on a side note, I think that's where my strength in kicking, like especially longer kicks, I was pretty strong at 50 plus for my time in the NFL. These guys are incredible now, right? I was pretty good in my time. I was actually at one point the highest, percentage over 50 in the NFL. I don't know about the history or what it was, but I could have been up there. I don't know. I don't pay attention to stuff like that. I just do my job, right? But my point is that the reason I felt, in my opinion, that I was pretty good at 50 plus, kicks was because of my mentality. And this is going to sound crazy again. Okay. I as a professional football player, am here to tell you honestly, transparently, what was going through my mind at a 50 plus yard kick. Okay. I didn't realize professional people thought that way. I'm here to tell you, all I was thinking about on those long kicks is I just want to hit the ball solid and I hope it goes through. Literally, that's what I'm thinking. Just make solid contact and hope and pray this ball goes straight. Okay, it's kind of weird to think about someone, at the level that I played to say something like that, right? But here's the thing. It took a lot of pressure off me. The expectation back then of making a kick over 50 yards was, well, okay, well, hope he makes it. The team, the coaches, the players, like, oh, that's a long kick. Hope Mike makes it. Hope he makes it. So I knew that, and again, don't take this wrong. It wasn't already like a built-in excuse. It was more so of a mindset of like, I'm okay if I miss this. I gave it my best. And that was really my mindset on everything. Every day I look myself in the mirror and say, as long as I did what is as good as I can under the circumstances I was given, if I can honestly say that, if I didn't cheat or do something stupid or whatever, if I can honestly say I gave it my best effort under the circumstances that I was given, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with failure if I did the best. My whole concept about kicking at my size, I've always told all of my kickers this, all my athletes that I've worked with for almost 19 years now, I've always told them this. Listen, the mindset of me growing up, I knew that I wasn't, when I peaked at my highest height as far as my body and my structure, and I knew that I wasn't going to get any bigger, any stronger in a sense, and any more athletic. I knew that whatever level I got using the technique that I was taught, that's another thing too, is you got to have somebody that you trust and you know that this technique is good for you, and you know that it's the best way of doing something, whatever it is you're doing in life. When you get to that position where you've got the tools, the mechanics are taught to you, and you're learning mechanics, you're learning things about a certain skill. If you understand knowing that you could fail at that, and you know that you're going to fail at that, but the process of failure is learning, you're okay. If you know that you did the best you could do under those circumstances, a rainy day, a windy day, whatever, and I knew I could do the best I could. And honestly, with regards to the concept of my mindset on my daily activities and what I was doing, I wanted to make sure that my physical body could get to whatever level I personally was capable of. Now, here's that goal setting part again. If I'm thinking I'm a small guy and I can't, there's no way I can play in the NFL. Look at me, I'm too small. I'm not athletic enough. Well, clearly, if I thought that was a goal, and it was an unrealistic goal, if I had that mindset, well, yeah, I'm probably not going to make that if I had that mindset. I didn't have that mindset though. My mindset wasn't the highest level of football. My mindset was the highest level of Mike Hollis. Does that make sense? My mindset was the highest level of me. And I have to be okay with that because I trusted my technique. I knew that that was the best thing I could do. That was the best form I could possibly do and have. I knew it based on all the mechanics about it. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Holy crap. This is good stuff. I like this. There's no other way I want to kick. I don't want to kick any other way. Okay, great. I found the tool. I was given the tool by Jim Gattano, my kicking coach. Love him to death. Still helps me coach as well to this day. But had I not had the mindset of achieving the best that I physically can do, and here's the second part of that I failed to mention, I wanted to do the best that Mike Hollis can do. My goal was to be as best as I could be, and whatever level that got me to, I have to be okay with. There's no other way around it. So call it a goal. Again, I'm a progressive goal setter. I do daily goals. Like, I want to be the best I can under the circumstance I'm given. And at that point, I have no fear of failure. I want to, did I fail? Well, if I failed, I didn't give it my 100%. Yes. Okay. I failed. And I have to look myself in the mirror every night and say, yeah, I failed today because of my attitude, my brain. I didn't give it 100%. And I know that. And so, yes, I failed. But again, going back to the whole process of learning things and having those failures, it's inevitable. You're going to fail. Michael Jordan's, all these, Tiger Woods, all these guys have been at the top of all these sports, have failed miserably multiple times. You're never going to hear about it. He's so good. Oh, that. In the process of getting that good, the 10,000 hours it requires you to become a professional, you're going to fail miserably at times. It's okay. It's fine. Don't look at failure as a negative, okay? It is inevitable. Is anybody on this podcast going to live forever on planet Earth? No. Our time is limited here. It's inevitable, okay? We are going to pass on someday, and we are going to go to higher levels, and we're going to, spiritually, we're going to go in heaven. Whatever your mindset is, where you think you're going to be when your time is done on this earth, awesome. Okay, but my point is, you clearly understand that it's inevitable. Inevitable. That's a tough one. So, don't have fear of failure. Embrace failure. Okay, because it is a learning tool. It's a learning experience. If without failure, you will never come close to perfection. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, I'm sure you guys understand that. I'm not a rocket scientist here. I'm not just some special guy. I was somebody that had some great experiences at a level of physical level that shouldn't really have gone to that level and played football. 5'8" on a good day, 180 pounds, and a very average athlete. Okay, I used my brain. I used my skills that were taught to me. I was accountable. I was a hard worker. I was dedicated. I was passionate. And I failed. I failed a lot. But again, going back to what I originally said earlier in the show tonight, that without that, fear of failure and putting yourself out there to experience, it's another big one. If you're afraid of failing something and you don't put yourself out there, you'll never experience what it is you thought you could do or wanted to do or had a thought of. You'll never have those experiences. So if you're living your life walking on eggshells every single day, and you are afraid to put yourself out there and be vulnerable, you won't have very many experiences in life. Remember what I just said. We're on this planet for a very limited amount of time in the broad range of spectrum, right? In the broad spectrum, right? So you understand life is full of experiences only if you go for it. Okay? Only if you go for it. You cannot worry about what people say too. That's another huge one. A lot of people are fearful of doing things because they're worried about what other people think about them. Screw that. They are not you. Do they pay your bills? Do they feed you food? Do they wash your car? What do they do for you? Those people, those naysayers, those people that you're maybe afraid of hearing some negative points about what you're doing, or that's stupid or whatever. If you have that fear of those people telling you that kind of stuff, then you've already failed. You'll never do things, right? So that's what I'm saying. You make sure that you understand. You go for it. You don't care what people think about it. I didn't care what people thought about me as this short little guy trying to kick in college. People, there's no way he's going to make it. Well, I did. And not only did I make college, I made the NFL. And not only did I do that, I was a Pro Bowl kicker at one point in my life. Okay, I was one of the top 2 kickers in the world. Another side note, Jason Hansen was the other guy in the Pro Bowl, and he and I went to the same hometown, Spokane, Washington. We kicked against each other in high school and soccer too. Okay, such a cool story. Jason Hansen is on the NFC team, and Mike Hollis is on the AFC team. Both those guys from Spokane, Washington, played high school sports against each other. Super cool concept. I know I'm getting off track here, but you guys know the point. Don't have fear of failure. Fear is your friend. Fear is going to evolve you. Fear is going to make you a better person in the long run. So don't be afraid of failure. Go for it. Have fun doing what you're doing. And again, don't listen to people. Don't listen to what they think. How many people thought I was too short? How many people thought I was too this, too that? I don't care what you think. I am me, and I'm going to live my life regardless of what you think about it, okay? Now, that's not a negative thing. That's not like, I don't have any friends because of that, but it's not that way, of course. It's just a matter of just how I feel about what my potential is and what I'm doing, my passion, what it is that I'm doing. And without my passion, without the fear of failure, if I have the fear of failure, then I'm not going to be passionate about something. I'm not going to have the feeling, the zealousness about doing something, the enthusiasm about doing something. I'm not going to have that if I have fear of failure, because I know that I'm going to fail, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn from the failures. Failure is inevitable. Embrace it. With that said, wow, that was rough. With that said, you guys have a great night, and I look forward to seeing you guys next Monday night at 5:30. Take care.
Thank you for watching Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you next time.